What separates the man who builds empires from the man who builds excuses? Why do some people walk into a room and the energy shifts? Not because they're loud, but because they're controlled. What is it about certain men that makes others instinctively step aside, lower their voice, pay attention? It's discipline, but not the kind you think. There is a version of you that exists in potential. A version so disciplined, so relentlessly consistent, so unmoved by circumstance, that if you encountered him today you wouldn't recognize him. You might even fear him, because he has killed every weak impulse you currently negotiate with. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't seek motivation. He doesn't explain himself. He simply executes. Most people think discipline is about waking up at 5 a.m., or meal prepping on Sundays, or hitting the gym 4 times a week. They think it's a healthy habit, a productivity hack, a New Year's resolution that lasts until February. They are wrong. Real discipline is not a habit. It is a hostile takeover of your own mind. It is the ability to look at your emotions, your excuses, your fatigue, your cravings, and bury them without ceremony. It is an act of internal violence. And Machiavelli knew this better than anyone. He didn't write The Prince for the good-hearted. He didn't write it for people who wanted to be liked. He wrote it for strategists, for rulers, for men who understood that power in a chaotic world requires coldness, calculation, and the willingness to do what others won't. When you become truly disciplined, Machiavellian in your self-governance, people don't just respect you. They get uncomfortable around you. They sense something has shifted. They see a man who can no longer be manipulated by convenience or flattery or fear. A man who has stopped negotiating with himself. And that terrifies them, because a man who cannot be broken by his own mind cannot be broken by anything. You're here because you're tired. Not physically tired, soul tired. You're exhausted by your own inconsistency. You're sick of making promises to yourself that you break by lunchtime. You're watching others ascend while you stay trapped in the same cycle. Motivation, effort, collapse, guilt, repeat. The fact that you're still watching this, that you haven't clicked away to something easier, something more comfortable, tells me something about you. You're different. You're ready for what comes next. What I'm about to teach you is not self-help. This is self-reconstruction. We are going to systematically rebuild you, using the ruthless philosophy of Niccolò Machiavelli. Not theory, not inspiration. Tactical protocols you can implement tomorrow morning. By the end of this, you will have 6 specific systems. 6 protocols that transform discipline from an abstract concept into a daily reality. You will understand why silence is sharper than speech, why isolation builds empires, and why the man who controls himself controls everything. The secret to discipline isn't in what you add to your life. It's in what you're willing to eliminate. Let's begin. Most men are subjects. They are governed by their impulses, their emotions, their environment. They wake up and immediately check their phone, surrendering their attention before their eyes are fully open. They scroll, they compare, they consume opinions from people they don't respect. They are slaves to dopamine, to distraction, to the path of least resistance. They think they are free, but they are ruled by invisible masters. Comfort, validation, instant gratification. You're going to become the opposite. You're going to become a sovereign. A sovereign is a man who governs himself with the same ruthlessness a Machiavellian prince governs a state. He does not ask his subjects, his emotions, his urges, his fears, what they want. He tells them what will happen. And if they rebel, he crushes the rebellion without hesitation. Machiavelli understood that power is not given. It is taken. It is seized through decisive action and maintained through unwavering consistency. The same is true of self-mastery. But sovereignty has a cost. You will lose friends who prefer you weak. You will lose romantic partners who thrived on your inconsistency. You will walk through rooms and feel the shift. People will sense you've changed, and they won't like it. And you're going to accept that cost. Because the alternative is staying governed by weakness. And you're already done with that, aren't you? There are 6 protocols, 6 tactical systems. Master them, and you don't just become disciplined. You become inevitable. Protocol 1. Operational silence. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The average man is a broadcaster. He announces his intentions before he's taken a single step. He posts about his new workout program on day one. He tells his friends about the business he's going to start. He updates his LinkedIn bio before he's earned the title. Why? Because he's seeking validation for effort he hasn't expended. He's asking the world, is it okay if I become this? Will you approve of me if I try? He releases the pressure before the engine even starts. And this is why he fails. You're going to do the opposite. You're going to operate in darkness. When you broadcast your goals, you invite opinions. Opinions invite doubt. Doubt invites hesitation. Hesitation invites failure. The chain reaction starts the moment you open your mouth. But when you work in silence, you make mistakes that no one sees. You fail in private. You adjust without judgment. You build power in the shadows. And when you finally emerge, you don't need to announce what you've become. They see it. They feel it. Here's your first tactical protocol. The 90-day blackout. Pick one area of transformation. Fitness, business, skill development, doesn't matter. For the next 90 days, you do not mention it to anyone. Not your friends, not your family, not on social media. Delete the apps if you have to. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, gone for 90 days. Don't announce the deletion. Just disappear. No exceptions, no accountability posts, no progress photos, no asking for advice. You work, you execute, you iterate, and complete silence. When someone asks what you've been up to, you give them nothing, just working on some things. That's it. No details, no explanations. After 90 days, you emerge. But you don't announce the emergence either. You just show up different. Sharper posture, better physique, new skill. They'll notice. They'll ask. You'll smile and change the subject. This is the discipline of the ghost. It scares people because it forces them to confront their own lack of focus. While they were performing their intentions, you were executing them. Starting today, stop explaining yourself. Explanation is the language of the victim. The powerful do not justify. They act. Comment this if you're implementing the blackout. I build in silence. Protocol 2. The override mechanism. There's a dangerous misconception that disciplined people don't feel pain, that they're robots, that they've somehow transcended human emotion. That's a lie. The disciplined man feels everything. He feels the desire to sleep in. He feels the sting of rejection. He feels the crushing weight of self-doubt. He feels the overwhelming urge to quit when things get hard. The difference is simple. He has a protocol that overrides feeling. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does what he must, not what he wishes." You cannot rely on loving the process. You will not love the alarm at 4 a.m. You will not love the cold shower. You will not love the 10th hour of deep work. When your brain is begging for distraction, passion is unreliable. Passion is a flame that gutters out the moment the wind blows. You need something mechanical. You need a circuit breaker that bypasses emotion entirely. Here's your second tactical protocol. The 3-second override. When the alarm goes off, you have 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Move. If you think for 4 seconds, your brain will convince you to stay in bed. Your brain is designed for survival, not success. It will always advocate for comfort. This applies to everything. Alarm goes off, 3 seconds, feet on floor. Time to work out? 3 seconds. Shoes on. Need to make the call? 3 seconds. Dial. Should send the email? 3 seconds, send. No negotiation, no internal debate. No just 5 more minutes. The override happens in the gap between impulse and thought. You move before your brain can manufacture an excuse. Here's the implementation. Tomorrow morning, set your alarm. Place your phone across the room so you have to stand up to turn it off. When it rings, count out loud. 1, 2, 3. On 3, you're already moving toward the bathroom. Do this for 7 days straight. No exceptions. Even weekends. After 7 days, the neural pathway starts to form. After 30 days, it's automatic. After 90 days, you've rewired your relationship with resistance. You stop being a man who tries to be disciplined. You become a system that executes, regardless of internal conditions. When your output is no longer dictated by your emotional state, you are untouchable. When they can't manipulate your mood to control your behavior, you are free. Protocol 3. Fotress time. Machiavelli knew that to maintain power, a ruler had to control his borders. He wrote, "A wise prince should rely on what is in his own control, not on what is in the control of others." Your time is your kingdom. Right now, it's being invaded. Look at yesterday. How many hours did you actually control? How many were surrendered to other people's agendas, to notifications, to scrolling, to pointless conversations? Most people give away 80% of their time and wonder why they're not progressing. You're going to fortify your borders. Here's your third tactical protocol, the Fotress block. Every single day, you will defend 2 hours of uninterrupted time. Non-negotiable. This is your fortress. During these 2 hours, phone is off. Not on silent, off. Door is locked. No one knows where you are. You work on your single most important objective. Not emails, not admin tasks, not busy work. The thing that actually moves your life forward. Here's the implementation. Tonight, before you sleep, identify your 2-hour window for tomorrow. Early morning works best, 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., because the world is still asleep. But find what works for your situation. Set the boundary. I'm unavailable from this time to this time. No exceptions. Don't explain why. Don't apologize. Just state it. If someone pushes back, you give them nothing. That time is blocked. Inside the fortress, you execute. Writing, building, training, learning. Whatever your mission requires. No multitasking. No checking just one thing. Single task execution for 120 minutes. Do this daily for 30 days. That's 60 hours of deep work. More than most people do in 6 months. Here's what happens. People stop trying to interrupt you. They learn your time is expensive. They learn you're not available on demand. And when you do give them your attention, they value it. Discipline creates scarcity. Scarcity creates value. This is how you elevate yourself out of the competition. Most people are accessible 24/7. You operate on your terms. Tactical addition. Place a physical sign on your door during Fotress time. Deep work. Do not disturb. This creates a visual boundary that even family members will respect. Protocol 4. Controlled silence. Machiavelli advised, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, because love is preserved by the link of obligation which is broken at every opportunity for their advantage, but fear preserves you by a dread of punishment which never fails." When you are undisciplined, you are predictable. People know you will quit. They know you will complain. They know that if they apply enough pressure, you will fold. You are easy to manipulate because your weaknesses are visible. But when you become disciplined, you become unreadable. Someone insults you, you don't react. You look at them, you pause, and you go back to work. A crisis happens, you don't panic. You analyze. You lose money, you don't spiral. You rebuild. This lack of reaction is terrifying to manipulative people. They rely on your emotional volatility to control you. When you remove the buttons they use to push, they lose their power. Here's your fourth tactical protocol. The pause. When something triggers you, an insult, a setback, a provocation, you do not react immediately. You pause. 3 full seconds. You look at them or at the situation. You let the silence hang. Then you respond with precision. Or you don't respond at all. Here's the implementation. Starting today, practice the pause in low-stakes situations. Someone cuts you off in traffic, pause. Breathe. Continue driving. Someone says something irritating, pause. Look at them, decide if it's worth addressing. You receive bad news, pause, process. Then act. The pause creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, you regain control. Over time, this becomes automatic. You become the man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't react emotionally, who processes and then acts strategically. Tactical Edition: The Information Diet. Stop volunteering information about your emotional state. When someone asks, "How are you?" stop saying tired or stressed or busy. These reveal weakness. Default response: good. You. When something bad happens, don't broadcast it. No venting on social media. No complaining to colleagues. No seeking sympathy. Process it privately. Fix it quietly. Move forward. When you stop showing your wounds, people stop knowing where to strike. Protocol 5: Ruthless Subtraction. Machiavelli studied the great empires: Rome, Sparta, Persia. They didn't fall because of external enemies. They fell because they rotted from within. They lost their discipline. They became soft. Luxury made them weak. You are living in the most luxurious era in human history. You have heating, air conditioning, food delivery, endless entertainment, pornography on demand, sugar in everything, drugs that numb any discomfort. Everything is designed to make you soft. Everything is designed to sedate you. To be disciplined in this world is an act of rebellion. Why do you fail? Because your standards are too low. You've accepted a version of reality where trying is enough, where almost counts, where busy equals productive. You need to declare war on comfort. Here's your 5th tactical protocol: the subtraction audit. Most people try to add discipline by adding things: new routines, new habits, new systems. You're going to do the opposite. You're going to subtract. Here's the implementation. Tonight, make 3 lists. List 1: Energy vampires. People. Write down the 5 people you spend the most time with. Next to each name, answer honestly: are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Anyone who is neutral or negative gets distanced. Not dramatically, not with a confrontation. You just become less available. They text, you respond slower. They invite you out. You're busy. They want to hang out. You have work. Within 90 days, you'll have naturally filtered your circle. List 2: Time thieves. Activities. Write down everything you did yesterday that didn't serve your mission. Social media scrolling, watching TV or Netflix, playing video games, gossiping, mindless browsing. Pick the top 3 time thieves. Eliminate them completely for 30 days. Delete the apps. Cancel the subscriptions. Remove the temptation. List 3: Comfort crutches. Habits. Write down the things you use to avoid discomfort. Sleeping in, snoozing alarms, junk food, alcohol, pornography, complaining. Pick one. Remove it for 30 days. After 30 days, pick another. Tactical Edition: The 10-minute rule. Before you engage in any leisure activity, ask, will this make me stronger or weaker? If the answer is weaker, you don't do it. No exceptions, no negotiation. This single filter eliminates 80% of the activities draining your potential. When you hold yourself to a standard of excellence, you expose the mediocrity around you. Your existence becomes an indictment of their excuses. Let them call you obsessed. Let them call you extreme. The Machiavellian man does not lower himself to be understood by fools. He forces the world to rise to meet him, or he leaves the world behind. Protocol 6: Identity Execution. This is the final protocol, the one that makes everything else permanent. Machiavelli said, "There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others." You are at war with your past self. If you don't kill him, he will kill your future. He will drag you back into old habits. He will whisper in your ear when things get hard, "Just take a break. Just one drink. Just skip today. You deserve rest." Most people try to change gradually. They try to become a better version of themselves. That doesn't work, because better still implies continuity. The old self is still there, just slightly improved. You need discontinuity. You need a hard break. Here's your 6th tactical protocol: Identity Execution. You don't become disciplined by trying harder. You become disciplined by operating as a different person. Here's the implementation. Tomorrow morning, you wake up as someone else. Not metaphorically. Literally. The old version of you had a bedtime of midnight. The new version sleeps at 10 p.m. and wakes at 5 a.m. The old version negotiated with the alarm. The new version uses the 3-second override. The old version explained himself. The new version executes in silence. The old version sought comfort. The new version seeks the edge. You don't need a ceremony. You don't need to write letters or burn things. That's theatrical. You just stop being him. Tactical framework. Create a one-page document. Title it Operational Identity. 2 columns. Column 1. Old operating system. Wake time. 8 a.m. Training. Inconsistent. Work. Reactive. Social. Available to everyone. Evenings. Netflix and scroll. Column 2. New operating system. Wake time. 5 a.m. Training. Daily. Non-negotiable. Work. Fotress time. Plus strategic execution. Social. Selective and rare. Evenings. Read, plan, sleep. Starting tomorrow, you operate exclusively from column 2. No transition period, no gradual shift. Cold switch. When the old voice appears, and it will, you recognize it. That's the old operating system. I don't run on that anymore. Then you execute the new protocol. Tactical anchor. Every morning during your Fotress time, read your operational identity document. This reinforces who you are now. After 30 days, the new identity becomes default. After 90 days, the old version feels like a different person entirely. This is how you make discipline permanent. You don't improve the old you replace him. So what happens when you execute these 6 protocols? When discipline stops being a goal and becomes your operating system, then noise stops. The anxiety that has buzzed in the background of your life for years, it goes quiet. Because anxiety comes from knowing you're unprepared. It comes from knowing you're lying to yourself. When you execute these protocols, you have nothing to hide. You know who you are. You know what you're capable of. You stop fearing the future because you're building it 2 hours at a time in your Fotress. You stop fearing other people because you know they can't outwork you. They're still explaining their plans. You're executing in silence. You stop fearing failure because you've removed the conditions that cause it. You have systems, not hopes. You become free, but it's a cold freedom, a disciplined freedom. It's the freedom of the wolf on the hill, looking down at the sheep in the pen. The sheep are warm. They're comfortable. They're fed, but they're trapped in someone else's system. You're out in the cold. You're hungry, but you're sovereign. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in exile. He was stripped of his position, tortured, cast out into darkness. And in that isolation, in that suffering, he wrote the words that would change the world. He didn't need applause. He needed truth. Your discipline is your truth. It's the only thing that's truly yours. They can take your money. They can take your job. They can take your reputation. But they cannot take your discipline. They cannot take your protocols. They cannot take your ability to execute. That is your Fotress. That is your throne. The world is getting softer. The world is getting louder. The world is getting more chaotic. This is your advantage. While they get weaker, you get harder. While they get distracted, you execute your Fotress time. While they seek comfort, you run your protocols. You are going to scare them, not because you're trying to, but because you're a mirror, reflecting everything they're too comfortable to become. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them wonder what happened to you. You have work to do. Here's what happens next. Tomorrow morning, you implement Protocol 1, the 90-day blackout. Pick your transformation area. Go silent. Tomorrow morning, you implement Protocol 2, the 3-second override. When the alarm rings, you move. Tomorrow morning, you defend your first Fotress block. 2 hours. Phone off. Door locked. You don't wait for motivation. You don't wait to feel ready. You execute the protocols. That's it. The fact that you've watched this far means something. It means you're not like the others. You're the kind of person who finishes what they start, who follows through when it gets uncomfortable. You're already different. Now you're gonna prove it. Comment below with your protocol commitment. I choose the cold path. Tell me which protocol you're implementing first. The blackout? The override? The fortress? Accountability starts now. And if you want the next level, if you want more tactical breakdowns of Machiavellian psychology, strategic thinking, and the dark arts of self-mastery, subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. We're building an army of the disciplined, the sovereign, the ungovernable. The old you is dead. Now execute the protocols.